Yeah, she's been around for quite a while. My wife and I have known Becky for 20 years.
Yeah, did something. She has roots here.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I used to do some work for her foundation way back in the day. Yeah, website related. So, yeah.
Well, it's a hard decision because something's going on in the library.
Oh, I know. It's a tough coin toss.
The person I brought today is in there.
Okay, all right.
We can compare notes.
Confirming it is live.
Okay, thank you.
In the correct place.
Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's a good problem to have right now in our church, where you've got too many good programs to attend, Yeah.
I peeked in the sanctuary. I was surprised how many people.
I know.
Early service.
The first service is doing great.
We need 2 services.
We do, and that confirms it. When you've got 80 plus people in the first, I don't know what those numbers are, but it looks to me like it's pushing 100.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Pretty full.
Yeah. Yeah, it sure does.
John, you steal one of these too. We don't know what's going on anymore. We go to the early service. We don't get these.
Oh, I have an extra one.
Oh, no, we don't need them.
I don't need it now.
Oh, okay. Well, Jill's going to take it off your hands.
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
going to read what's happening.
I would bring it for somebody else if she wasn't there.
Yeah. Thank you. So Mark, I learned a few things the other day when we played that game.
I did too. I just now don't remember all that I learned.
But I do remember I learned a few things.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
Are any of you guys interested in languages? Okay, because I brought some copies of our books. So that's Amharic. And that is alphabet system is from the ancient language. Which there's, and then this is Oromika, which is it was a spoken language made into a written.
Did you happen to see the parade last night?
So you're welcome to take a peek
Gosh,
if
it was
you
cold.
like.
My feet took forever to warm up again.
This is why I'm wearing these.
There you go.
Oh,
It was great, but I just got so chilled to the bone last night.
So hopefully the
yeah, I don't know. Now, Ethiopia was never
It was a nice clear
It's the
night
only
last
country
night.
in Africa. Yes, you know about that.
I've just not been retaining heat as much anymore.
So many languages.
Is that a common
So
thing?
you know our problem. These are
Is that what I should
two
expect?
of our 3 major languages.
Beside with it.
Yeah, so you really do know Ethiopia then.
Oh, it's that guy.
Anybody else want to take a peek at the languages?
languages. I'm always interested in
Okay,
languages.
well this is Amharic, which is the formally official language. It's a written language that was originally yes, G-E-E with an accent Z. That many scholars believe was the pre-Babylonic language. So that's where they're, and then this is the one.
But then again,
she's also another language is just by the term easy grader.
Yeah. But there's, because their languages for them, their words can be pronounced different ways.
Yeah, but it's awfully close to you would like it. Well, there are some chapters where you think, well, this is
Yes, and it's true.
yeah, I just need.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, you're welcome to, even just pass them around if you like, or keep them, whichever is good for you. This one is the language of Oromika.
No, I see these are different.
Yes. Yes.
No, I think so.
Okay.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Forum. Thank you for being here. Let me get some announcements out of the way first. Next week, on the 14th, we will have Patience Kabwasa. She runs the Food to Power food bank. And so her organization did not have a chance to come to our MGNO meet and greet a few weeks back. And so we've given her space and forum to talk about Food to Power. So you won't want to miss that. And then the following and final week of our season, on the 21st, we have our own Judge Dick Hall and his son Eric Hall. And they'll be coming to speak about some recent court cases, and, politics, and legal matters, stuff like that. So today we have Becky Kiser. Becky and I go back. I've known Becky just about as long as I've known my wife. Sarah and Becky are very good friends. Go way back. Fun fact, Becky did the makeup for all the bridesmaids and my bride at my wedding. So, very close ties there. Becky Kiser is a native of Colorado Springs. She's an acclaimed businesswoman and humanitarian. She graduated with honors from CU and was recognized as one of the top 10 women business owners in Colorado Springs. She was named as among women who changed the world by the Spanish government. As well as 21 leaders of the 21st century by Women's eNews. She's had a career with Mary Kay Cosmetics and a decade developing women entrepreneurs in the Philippines. She founded the Trampled Rose Incorporated in 2006, and now she lives in Ethiopia with her husband, Tesfaye, serving thousands of women and girls through her nonprofit there. Years ago, I had helped Becky with her website, a long time ago, but it's now vastly improved. So.
Not that long ago when you were my age. At your age, it seems like a long time.
At my
time, it was recent.
So let's welcome Becky Kiser.
Let's see, how about right here? I'm a little bit more of a mover arounder, so I'll keep the microphone with me. And I can see that already I've talked to many of you, or several of you, that know quite a bit about Ethiopia. I can already see by the questions or comments that you've answered. So, do you all remember back in the day when our kids, which are Rob's age, they had those interactive books where you could pick the chapter and then you could read the next chapter and you could choose your own adventure. Yeah. So we're going to do a choose your own adventure today. So I have a background story to tell you, a little bit about what we're doing. We are very, very, very different than most nonprofits, and there's some things that make us a bit unique. And so I'll tell you a bit about our history, and then we can go on into what we're doing. And at each time, I'll let you choose our next chapter. Do you want to go into more of the dynamics of how things work? Many people that are interested in Ethiopia now want to hear some dynamics about our current civil war. We can do that. So really we'll choose our own adventure. Does that sound good?
Sure.
And is everybody okay being spread out, or do you want to, can you all hear me back okay there? Okay, then we won't worry about you. As somebody who's always grateful when there's a microphone, I'm glad to see that you have one. So the pictures I have going on back here are just some photos of my everyday life. And I think it helps people see how after 22 years of being in Ethiopia, it was 22 years, December 1st is when I first put my crazy feet on that soil. And it helps, it's become so normal that I more often make American mistakes than I make Ethiopian mistakes. So these are just some photos of what life looks like for me on a daily basis. And so you're welcome, and we can even discuss some of the kids, some of the situations that happen if you choose that adventure. So first I'd like to tell you about how I got to that place in the first place. And I am a native of Colorado Springs. I was technically born in the hospital in Salida, but immediately brought here. So that just because of circumstances. And so I grew up here. My father was a known businessman here. He had El Paso floor, and then later on he was part of the Citadel Bank over there by the Citadel. So I grew up playing golf, playing tennis, being on the swim team, but our family was very world-oriented. So I began traveling late. The reason I began traveling late is because I had my first baby when I was 19. So, and then my next one right after that. So as you know, you can travel to the beach with your kids, but I know people do it, but taking them really dramatic places, I didn't do until they were both in university when I turned 40. So I had my 40th birthday, they were both in university. Sarah was the dorm police or something like that in my daughter's university dorm. So they were both away in university. And I had already been to Israel and then the churches in Turkey, the churches of Revelation. I had done that tour. And the next step was interest in the Ark of the Covenant. I've always been a buff for ancient religions. I was from a denomination that we didn't have television, we didn't have what we call worldly music, we had no makeup and no fingernail polish, so you can see I strayed a little bit. But so I grew up with history, and especially the history of the church, the history of other religions had just always been something I was really interested in. So I was interested in what happened to the Ark of the Covenant. Really, in many of the Canaanite scriptures, we lost that travel. So I went to Ethiopia by myself. I hired a private tour guide, and I had a 4-day tour there. I went to the place, Axum, Ethiopia, which is in the far north. And there's debate about whether the Queen of Sheba is from there or is she from Yemen. So, you know, that's the big fight there. So I saw what was known to maybe be the Queen of Sheba's palace and the church where the Ark of the Covenant is purported to be stored. And really, from the research I've done, they have a good argument of why it could possibly be there. But in the hotel that morning, I reached over and I picked up a cup of juice. I was reading a book, traveling by myself, so I just reached out and it was on the table, and I took a sip of the juice and I thought, you know what, I probably shouldn't have done that. And I ended up, the next part of my trip, I went to the tour guide and said, please, you've got to get me back to Addis. I'm very, very sick. It turned, they couldn't get me back. Knowing what I know now, I would have fought harder, but I didn't know enough to fight. So I went on to the next village, town of Bahar Dar, which is where the source of the Nile River. And I know we argue with Egypt over that, but this is, I think we can argue the source of the Nile is in Bahar Dar, Ethiopia. So I have no memory of it. My next memory, I woke up and I was laying in what we call a medium clinic. So I looked over at the wall and I could see a crack with a spider on it. Then I looked down at my hand and I could see I had a rusty, literally rusty IV in my hand. And I looked at the IV and it had rust forming where it hung over my bed didn't have sheets. this is how I knew I was really sick. I didn't care. I was just observing it. So I made it back to USA and didn't know that you're supposed to report to the customs office that when you enter, if you've had typhoid, you're supposed to report it as a dangerous disease. I didn't know that. Typhoid, yeah. So I got back here, went to my doctor. My doctor blocked all the doors and ran and called the state. But what happened was this. I got over it quickly. I did take the medicine that they had recommended in Ethiopia. But what happened was that I got better quickly, and I realized my life had been saved by the tour guide. So at that time, I was a Mary Kay sales director with a pink Cadillac. People always ask me that. Yes, I did have a pink Cadillac, and yes, it is the best career ever. I loved it. So I was asked to teach with a friend. Many of you might know Platt Furniture, the owners of that. She's my best friend. We had a chance to go teach women's entrepreneurship in Ghana. So I thought, well, I'm in Ghana. I'm going to stop and say thank you to that tour guide. Maybe, we can't do a lot for him, but we could do something that could be life impactful for him because he really had saved my life. So I flew back to Ethiopia and from Ghana, and he said, my sister has fistula. Can you help her? So you've heard of this. Okay, this is I had never heard of it. I couldn't figure out what in the world it possibly was. I tried to look at a translation. I said, sure, I'll help her. What fistula is at that time, girls, the Amhara girls, and as we were just discussing, there's at least 87 known people groups, known languages, and there's some without known languages. So she was, the Amhara people especially at that time, most of their girls are married by the age of 13. For sure they're betrothed before then. They're also, FGM was female genital mutilation was very prevalent at that time, causing scar tissue. So when these little girls would get pregnant in some of their first, second cycles, it caused, as they would deliver the baby by themselves, it can cause lack of oxygen, which then results in a tear to the bladder and or the rectum. So they leak urine and feces for the rest of their life. When I found out about that, I was in line with waiting to go in. It was a 2-month wait to get into the hospital for surgery. I saw the place where they were waiting. We call it a shepherd's house, but it's just a rustic fence on mud. And they had their cots there. Even in the rain, they had like plastic as they were waiting for their 2 months to get their surgery. So I got back to Colorado Springs and lived over there. Do any of you know where St. Andrews is? Right behind the Colorado Springs Country Club. So I had a real pretty house, the house where I did Sarah's makeup. I had a real pretty house with a big window with white carpet and walk-in closets, and I couldn't sleep. I kept pacing, just thinking, how can I sleep here when I know that our sisters around the world are living like this? And I had never heard of it. So I told my Mary Kay group about it. They said, if we raise money for you to go back and help more women with this problem, would you? I said, okay, I'll pay for my own ticket if we could get some money. Well, Some of you may know her. She's a well-known teacher here in town, Marsha Peterson. You knew her, Rob, yeah. She had the idea that to call KRDO News. So we ended up with $5,000 that had been delivered tax-free within a trust fund. Actually, anyway, donor advised fund technically, but so I couldn't give the money back because it was already tax-free that they had donated. So I started to go back and help one person. I got to Ethiopia and found out it's completely illegal, as it should be, to just start up helping people of which I know nothing about the problems, nothing about the systems, nothing about how things can be corrupt. And so I quickly had to turn back around and get our legal 501c3, which, talk about a miracle, we applied and received it in 2 weeks. I know, that's like one of those that, okay, raising from the dead, okay, but 501c3 in 2 weeks from door to door is pretty amazing. We ended up with our name, and I went back 13 times in 18 months in order to get the legal permission to open, to help these women. And the reason I did that is because I couldn't live here in our beautiful city knowing what's happening, and that I've seen it and I just left it. So we began helping women with fistula stay while they were waiting for their surgery. During the time that this whole adventure has happened in 22 years, fistula has been virtually eradicated. This is because there's some reasons. One, the government made stricter laws than some of our states have for early marriage. The children both have to be 18, and if they get caught married under 18, both sets of parents are eligible to go to prison. So it woke everybody up. Also, FGM became, if they caught somebody, it was immediate life imprisonment. So we saw things happen in a bit of time. That it happened, it'd been thousands of years, this practice of early marriage and the practice out of love, the same way that we love our children, out of love, but finding out there's another way that is better for the girls. At that time, we realized that the girls who had never been allowed to go to school before because they got married were now able to go to school. On top of that, they had the legal protection that if they had been put into a forced marriage, they could run to the police, even with their children, and the police would help them get to safety away from the forced marriage, which is another common practice for young girls. So we quickly saw a deluge of girls who needed help. We jumped in, helping them complete public high school as the best practice against poverty is keeping girls in school. Every month that a girl can stay in school longer, her family forever is affected. This is well researched, especially by Population Council if you're interested in these statistics. Okay, so now I have something for you. I have Rob, can I help you? Ask you to help me? I have drawing tickets. For anyone everybody who came today gets one, and anybody who asks me a question. Part of it is because this life seems so normal to me that I like to know the questions that you might have because I haven't thought of them. So that's part of it. Number 2, so for every question you get another ticket, and I'll show you what the prize is. And Rob can tell you if it's good or not. Okay.
So 1 ticket per person for now.
For being here, and anybody that asks a question. So I'm going to divert to a story. So this,
There you go. That's good. Smart.
this is coffee beans roasted by my own little hands from Ethiopia. This is the very best coffee. In fact, I can't buy it. I had to have somebody from another people group buy it for me because she knew where to get it. This is the best coffee you can get in Ethiopia. And I'll tell you a story about the coffee. Is this. There was, in Kaffa, Ethiopia, there was this shepherd named Caldi. And he noticed that when his goats ate a certain bean, they would start jumping and playing and have lots of energy. Actually, it was his sheep. When his sheep would eat the coffee beans, they'd start jumping and having a good time. So he went to the Orthodox priests and told the priests about that he had found in the berries. The priests decided that coffee was only to be used by priests, not by the people in the church. Many of us have that laugh, don't we? So this is, coffee has, we believe ourselves to be the origin of coffee in Kaffa, Ethiopia. So this coffee is from that area, and it's roasted to a medium roast because I found that's how most people like it. And I had to go to a 6-week class for coffee roasting, and I got sent home one time for wearing the wrong clothes. So it's a process there. So does anybody have a question, or let's talk about which direction we should go so you can get another ticket with a question? Okay, we've got a question.
Yeah, I'm full of questions about everything, and I really appreciated what you shared with us. I feel like there's a little bit of a risk in extrapolating across countries with this question, so I want to just acknowledge that. But so in one of my social work classes recently, I gave a presentation on how the maternal mortality rates in the United States are extremely high, and they're racially disparate. There's, for a Black person giving birth in the United States, they're between 3 to 5 times more likely to pass away in childbirth. Depending on what subpopulation they're from, they're 3 to 5 times more likely than other populations. And so I'm wondering what kind of lessons can be drawn from the work that you've done and from what sounds like effective government policies that were put in place to reduce morbidity, people giving birth. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Okay, thank you. So to make sure we all understand the question, if I understand it correctly, and what's your name?
I'm Brenna.
Brenna, okay,
Yes.
Thank you, Brenna. To make sure we understand Brenna's question is that the things that I've learned about maternal health and have a reflection of, we also have similar race disparity with mortality here in the US, and what's my opinions on that. So Brenna, I have to tell you that really clearly, my only expertise in this stuff is being a mother. I mean, really, I laugh because I am probably the least medical person that anybody's ever met, so I had to really study. So I don't know much about the problems in the USA. I've heard things, and I've heard diseases and diabetes, and I've definitely heard in the problem in Appalachia with the teeth and the dental health. I've heard about these problems, but I'll tell you, I think the lesson that we could take from what I'm doing at the Trampled Rose is this. All of us doing whatever's in front of us is what's really going to make the difference. And I don't see, and I thank you, and I don't see that, did we get that question well, or, okay. I don't see that, okay, we're talking about the USA. I just got distracted with the microphone about the situation. Is that I don't see that, in my experience, I don't see that the nonprofit world as we've done it is going to work. It didn't work. We've thrown a lot of money at things that didn't work. I think it's going to take each of us. And I actually heard somebody from South Africa talk about this, and it really made an image that helps for me. And it's this, is that termites are horrible. I had experience. They invaded me this last little bit of time in Ethiopia, actually flying ants. I didn't know about them, but termites are not that big. But when they're together, they can eat a whole house in hours. And it's like every termite is eating their bite. And that's why I love coming. I actually much prefer having a smaller group where we can really share ideas, because I think that it's going to take all of us, each eating our own bite of the house, for this inequity, injustice, that people are hungry. Well, I'm always trying to put in a little extra exercise there, so I think it's going to take all of us. Yes.
So where are you based? Are you outside Addis? And what languages are you working in?
Okay. Thank you for that question, and we'll just see about the coffee here. So.
Oh, and FYI, Caldi is a brand name in Japan.
It's a store that sells coffee, and it's a chain and other imported food. So when we lived in Kyoto, Japan, I used to go there and buy
I
coffee.
had heard that. I mean, I've heard we'd even heard that they had moved, that chain originated in Ethiopia.
Oh, did it?
And we had even heard that they were moving to Dubai too. And I thought, wow, is that really gonna compete with, but it seems like it is then. That's
It's a great
interesting.
store. They give samples and.
Wow. Okay, well, I'll pass that information on back in Ethiopia.
So it's spelled KLDI.
Yeah, that's it. Yes, I'm very familiar with that corporation, yeah. Started out as a little tiny coffee shop. Do we have another question here?
In 2 parts. Can you tell me about the history of Christianity in Ethiopia? I've got what the shape of it is.
Which side do we have?
I can get through that pretty quick, actually, yeah. Okay, and what it looks like now?
Yeah.
Okay, I already asked Rob if I was going to embarrass him by anything I said, and he said, no, go ahead and tell your honest opinion.
It's a safe space.
So I'll tell you really what I've experienced, if that's good. So back to the question about languages and where I'm actually based. So how we make our living is, my husband is a chicken farmer. Technically, I call the chickens demons. That is a difficult business, and those little chickens can get pretty mean. I know when you have your own little houses, like when you have a hotel, they can be nice, but when you have a chicken farm, those little chickens are a lot of work. So we have a chicken farm in an area called Duka. In that area, it's the Oromo people group. The Oromo people group, or who have just recently come to power. They're the largest people group in Ethiopia, and they actually extend into Kenya. There are people on the border of Kenya who to this day will not accept that border. That they're Ethiopians, they're Oromos, and they don't care what the British had to say about their boundaries. So that is, so we have, so where he actually lives and has his farm is Duka. where he comes at least 3 or 4 nights a week, and we're often there, is the capital city, Addis Ababa. Even in Addis Ababa, the conditions are now, with our civil war, horrific, unbelievably terrible. I go to sleep with the gurgling of open septic systems that have just been destroyed, and the septic just all over the streets. The little pitter-patter of rats on my ceiling. I've become acquainted with thousands and thousands of flying ants in the last few months. So the conditions are horrific even in Addis. But I stay in Addis because we don't have sustainable electricity or water, but I have people around me in a very safe, almost, it looks like I'm in a prison kind of small, but there's wire. It was built for safety, not by us, but by the people who own it. So I actually live in Addis. We have, by law, and we have followed every law of Ethiopia and every law of the United States, which has given us our freedom. That if I could look back and say, was there anything really great we did, it was that. So following those laws, we do have a small office, about 3 times the size of this table. We have to have one because our goal from my business background is to keep costs down, get as much money to the kids as we can. So the languages we teach in are, we work in North Shoa, which is, there's a map there, but it's not there right now. It's just a little bit northeast of the capital city of Addis. It looks like a dot, but it takes 10 days to go across it. In that area, we speak both Amharic and Oromifa. My husband has a unique background in that his father was the biggest landlord in the area of Shino, Ethiopia. When the communist government, before the communist government came, he was the richest landlord. Because he was so rich, his father was able to pay the wedding price for the most educated girl in the village, which was the daughter of a priest, my mother-in-law. So the first time in the history of that village, there was a joining, he's called a half-caste, of the Amhara people with the Oromo people in marriage. So his mother is now 100 years old, and his father passed at 106, but his mother to this day has not spoken one word of the Oromo language. So my husband grew up speaking to his mother in Amharic and his father in Oromifa. So it's really a good thing in our Civil War because his accent is both as a first language, so they can't recognize which people group he's from. He can easily pass as one people group or another. And the conflict right now in the area we're helping in is between Oromo and Amhara. So, and a whole global government, but that's another question. That could take us quick. Now about, did that help?
Yes.
Okay, and yes, I passed some books for you to see. I think I have one more here, or a couple more. These are both in Oromifa, if you want to take a look. We had one, I don't know if you would mind sharing, where people can see the Amharic. It's a whole different language. It's okay, now for the question of ancient Christianity. So there is a debate between where did Christianity actually originate? In Armenia, in Egypt, or in Ethiopia? Our Ethiopian belief is that the Queen of Sheba went searching for wisdom from the King of Solomon. This they did not teach me in my Sunday school class, but the King Solomon enticed the Queen of Sheba into learning some other things. And so they had a child named Menelik. That's Menelik the First. Menelik the First, when his mother, the Queen of Sheba, came back to what Ethiopians believe was Axum, but may more likely have been Yemen. She came back and because she was a big ruler herself of a big kingdom all the way down to India, Abyssinia. So the King Solomon sent Menelik back when he became 13, the Hebrew age for manhood. So he sent Menelik back, and as his gift to his mother, the Queen of Sheba, he sent the Ark of the Covenant. And that's how the Ark of the Covenant became there. Ethiopians also believe that the rest of the world follows a pagan calendar. So actually right now, this is the year 2018 in Ethiopia because we follow the Julian calendar. We also follow the Hebrew clock where 1 o'clock in the morning is what we would call 7 o'clock a.m. So that's some of the history of the Christianity. Christianity right now in Ethiopia is very, very, very interesting. I'll give you an example of the division. The division is not between Christians and Muslims. We also have a very, maybe 20%, the official statistics are higher, but most likely about 20% Muslim population. But Muhammad resided in Ethiopia when he was hiding, when he was running after his his first wife died, and he was hiding. So he hid in Ethiopia at an area called Harar. Those in the Quran, not in the supplement books, but in the actual Quran, Muhammad told people not to touch Ethiopians. So we live very peacefully together. Ethiopians, although I'm a vegetarian, so it doesn't matter, but Ethiopians don't eat the meat. Christians don't eat Muslim meat, and Muslims don't eat Christian meat. Other than that, there's no division because one is sacrificed in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and the other one is sacrifices, there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his name. Did I get that right? Anyway,
is his messenger.
Yes, his messenger. Yes, thank you. Yeah. I've tried to memorize it even in Arabic, but I'm way far. So we don't have a division in that. Where the big division is in between what we would probably call, maybe evangelical, Pentecostal Christianity, or that kind of real, I don't know, what's a good word, Rob? Do you have one for it? You know what I'm talking about, but
like a different denomination instead of a different religion.
Actually, more like non-denominational Christianity is what has come to Ethiopia strongly. There's a big division there. My mother-in-law, who's 100, just had to go to the hospital and then she got released with oxygen. So she was staying in a house next to the road. That's not really her house, so that everyone could get to her easily. What happened was the priests could not come to her because that house is owned by what we call a Pente, or a Protestant. So they had to move all her medical equipment next door to a house that was owned by an Orthodox Christian. So the other really sad thing about, I didn't know about corruption until I got to Ethiopia. And it took a lot of hard knocks on my head before I realized that there are people that will make a living off the poor. I just couldn't really believe this could be possible, but I found out it's usual. So unfortunately right now, most of the corruption that's coming through is coming through this non-denominational missionary brand. Did that answer your question?
Close enough.
Okay. Okay.
So you mentioned earlier that fistula is all but eradicated. Is
Yes.
that right? So how much did Trampled Rose in that 2-decade time frame aid that?
Well, I love that.
Can you take a look?
Okay, I love that people ask me that question because all I did was like yell at people. So, I mean, just the sense of justice was so overwhelming, injustice was so overwhelming that it's true. I did have a lot of discussions. I've had some influence maybe, and even in Spain, a little bit here on early marriage, but it's all been the one termite eating the one board. It has been me eating the board, and I just happened to be at the board of fighting for girls. Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Is there somebody else?
You know what? We'll take you next, or whichever way you want to do it. If you guys are friends, you can fight.
Go ahead.
Royce, you want to
Somebody
take it?
else?
Have you been involved or seen the effects of microlending?
You know what? Yes. So the question is, have I been involved in microloans? Yes. I am very proud of this. So when we had an old house with fistula women, what I realized real quickly is we taught them to read and write, and they learned so quick, you cannot imagine. They were so hungry for it. But then while they were staying with us, waiting for about 2 months usually, sometimes longer, I also realized they need to have an entrepreneurship skill. So we began teaching them different entrepreneurship skills that they could learn. And what happened from that is I started hearing about the man in India that was doing the crazy things. So I came back. We do have a board here, although it's just people, we don't do any fundraising. It's just people that hear about us that go, hey, I mean, even one time a homeless woman heard and she gave us $10 that I think was really multiplied. So what happened with so we were on the, your question just
Microloan.
Yeah, microloans, thank you. Is that what happened was we got it all together, we had everyone a microloan. We researched what the best practices were. Everyone signed an agreement. We were all so excited. They had been taught them the business skills. We called them and the people who had phones and hear how they were doing in their villages. And I'm proud to say that we had a 100% rate of no return. We didn't get 1 penny back. So I decided I'm a failure at microloans. I'll let somebody else do that. We didn't get 1 returned loan. So that also the other part, we tried to raise chickens once and that didn't work either. So, but I mean, I know I have a friend here, Linda Hood. You know her. She works with an organization that does microloans, and I mean, it sounds great, but it just wasn't the thing that I could manage well. It didn't work for us. But I like the idea, and it makes sense, but not for us.
Yeah, so I'd like to follow up on your comment that it was the more kind of non-denominational people who were involved in the corruption. Can you give some examples of what was happening?
Man, I hate to do that because they're really organizations that are close to our hearts. You know, I mean, it's painful. Okay, I'll tell you, probably the really worst one we see is World Vision. And I saw World Vision when we were kids, we would get dimes for allowance and put 1 dime in the World Vision Bank. And I mean, when I started hearing, I was shattered. Then there's others that I'm not going to even say the name because it's too close to Colorado Springs and it's just painful to realize.
I think you have a responsibility to give your perspective because
okay, I'll do it.
You're not helping. This is an example, in my view, where silence is complicit. Accepted. Samaritan's Purse is the worst.
Could you describe what kind of things they're doing?
Yeah. Okay, what they do is, the money goes to, so the people working in those organizations, in Ethiopia is where I have my most experience. I have some experience. I am an honorary Nigerian, so don't be afraid if I send you an email. But I have some experience in Nigeria and in Ghana and in South Africa. But my biggest experience is in Ethiopia, so I'm only telling you my experience. What it looks like is that all layers, from the secretary that types the paper, to the minister who has a private jet and huge Swiss bank accounts, the money gets funneled. When the people come to visit, they don't know the culture. This happened to me. It was the prison ministry. The man who was in prison, he was in mixed. It was his prison ministry. Yeah. I could speak enough on her, but they didn't know by how I looked. The whole thing was a setup. The kitchen was a setup. They paid the children to come in and tell stories. But I could understand. I was like, wait a minute, where's your fire? You know, I knew enough to recognize it. Is how it started. It turned out that the fistula hospital that I went to help, I found $80 million. That was without me having access to anything other than public records.
So, and not 80 million of services.
No, not even close. Yeah. Not even, let's say that they guess that 5 to 10% actually get to the beneficiaries. That's why we have to be the termites, because we have to know what we're eating. I mean, I think the whole model, I think the whole model of nonprofit is a monster. It encourages us to keep problems. Because I'm human, I need money to live, right? So if my income is coming in from this, how motivated am I really to eradicate the problem? And that was, we had a big conflict with the fistula when we started fighting because they didn't want the problem eradicated. And I mean, I just couldn't believe that people could be, you know, it was like, oh my gosh, have you seen these are real people that are sleeping in the rain, that have no food. But I don't know if there's
a revenue
something.
stream, and you don't want to eliminate the revenue stream.
Yeah.
So what motivated the government then to suddenly raise the marriage rate and eliminate
the World Bank?
The
World Bank.
Really?
Yes, the World Bank has so much influence. So when they want a country to do something, that, for example, the World Bank just put a lot of pressure up until, excuse me if I'm wrong, but I think it's 7 years ago. Homosexuality was capital punishment. Yeah. And I know somebody, I don't know a person, I know the second layer of somebody it happened. So those are real issues for us. And so the World Bank uses the pressure of our inflation to implement what, you know, it depends on who you are, what you consider human rights, but those high-level officials at the World Bank need to make a good salary. I mean, it's heartbreaking.
But it sounds like they're also having a good influence.
It could be. Or it could be that it depends on which.
I mean, because if the girls are not getting married at 13 and are not permanently mutilated,
that helped. Yeah. That was the termites eating all around the world saying, this has to be stopped, this has to be stopped, this has to be stopped, until there was enough pressure. And then they use that pressure for goodwill.
So it sounds like there was some power of protest then, is that right? People
themselves were, yeah. Okay. And also what happened too on the grassroots is that girls statistically come back to help their families more than boys do. Boys usually go on to the capital city and support a family there, but the girls come back to their villages. So they were seeing the girls come back and realizing how much education was helping and that early marriage So it was already also another big thing is the cell phone. Because the cell phone made it possible for Shepherd's Way, and you can see some of the places where we were. I'll tell you about this girl if you want to know her story. It is where the shepherds were, that they could talk to their relatives who have been able to get to Europe or USA and say, no, there's a whole nother way to live. This is what this looks like. So cell phones also had a big influence. Any other questions? Okay.
How come every time I go to the hospital, up to the airport, and shoving around in a wheelchair, the pushers are all Ethiopian?
I'll tell you why. First of all, if you try to speak Amharic to them, they won't. They're Tigrinya Ethiopians, which are from the ruling class that was overthrown, what's that been now, 4 years ago, 5 years ago? So if they're from the group of people that could get me those coffee beans. And so they had the ability, their parents or relatives had the ability to get them out when they saw that things were crashing down. They had the ability to, maybe they had contacts at the American Embassy to get visas. Also, once a community, like for example, Minnesota, I think we're all hearing about the Somalis now in Minnesota. When your cousin and your uncle and your best friend down the street moves to USA and they work at the Denver airport, they know how you can get jobs there. And I have a little known fact, the Denver airport is the largest employer of Ethiopians in the United States.
Really? There you go.
Yeah.
Confirms your suspicion.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, so you'll have to give them a little known fact or something and say something to them. But
not in Amharic.
Not in Amharic. Oh my gosh! Last time I had an extra suitcase and I gave the greeting in Amharic, and to the girl I recognized her as Amhara. So I gave a greeting. Then her manager came and she was Tigrinya, and she's like, "I won't speak that language." Well, then I won't give you a tip. Just saying. Now you saw the evil side of me come out. So, okay, I think we're getting close to where we're going to need to wrap up. Would you like to know any, specifically about how our girls are doing and how our boys are doing? Okay, just because I want to brag.
Yeah.
Because this is so big that when you ask me, I'm developing a written, I don't want to call it a model, but a written process of how we're able to do this. But in 22 years, this has been a sudden overnight success. So if you've seen any of the pictures of the camels, okay, actually this area right here, these are some of the girls. So in Ethiopia, the national statistics, which we do not trust, my husband, one of his positions before marrying me was he was the head statistician for the country. So he always, anytime he hears a statistic, he shakes his head. But statistics say that in Ethiopia, 4 to 6% of the graduating seniors qualify for university scholarships. In our Trampled Rose program, where we do direct support to the needy students, and I did bring a whole bunch more of I put together some of the stories if you want to take a packet with you to read some of these are graduates I just interviewed about, actually it was October, but so our statistics are from a country where 4 to 6% qualify for university scholarships. That includes the international schools, and some of you know about those international schools that cost $60,000 to $100,000 per student per year. I mean, they're for the very elite, so that includes them in the statistics. Our students graduated, senior students from Trampled Rose graduated, are you ready? 100% with university scholarships. In the area,
She's from a different area, but actually in this area right here, these girls.
How many girls then?
So we have a total of every year we help about just right at 400 students.
100% of 400 people.
400, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but the seniors, I don't know the answer to how many seniors we had this year because once they join us, they stay with us through every year. So then their spot becomes open. Once they graduate, it becomes open for another sponsor. So the girl I just showed you, and then I'll close with that. Actually, I have to tell you one other thing first. The big change that has happened really recently is the boys are in terrible, terrible trouble. This is what happened. Before this time, the girls needed to help more because the boys could do things like migrant farming or take off for a year to stay in school. But now what they're doing is they're capturing the boys on the street and putting them into the military. And those kids are not going to make it 2 months. On top of that, the farms have been burned down, so there's no place to work. And so we now have a total of 150 boys too that were specifically sponsored. And from those boys, the biggest problem is extreme hunger. I mean, I would say probably 30% of them are close to emaciation. Of course, that can be fixed quickly. We get them going real quickly. So, and then to close, the girl I showed you, I said, take a look at her in the yellow kind of shirt. I said, take an oath. Her name is Evan, and her story is here, but I'll tell you the rest of her story that I'm very careful what I put because we don't know what the internet or anything is going to do. So we only want things that the girl will be proud of later. So, but this is her exact story. The first time I met her was when I took that picture. She was in 9th grade. And she told us a story that her grandmother is a bar worker, to be clear. Her mother became pregnant the first time when she was 13. She also was in the same bar business. She got over it. She was smart. She knew she could go to school. She got over it. She got pregnant with her second daughter, Ellen, that you saw in the photo. And it put her into depression. And Ellen said she was in 2nd grade and she can remember at night coming up from behind the sofa and seeing what was happening with a drink called Tej, which is a honey wine, and just things that happen in that situation. And she said she promised herself that she'd find some way to live a different life. She's now finishing her 3rd year of medical school. Yeah. And of the 4 to 6% that go on to university, only 5% of those go to medical school. Ours are going like 90+% to medical school from these examples. So thank you. Oh, let's do our drawing.
Oh, yeah.
I want to get you guys out. Thank you for being such a wonderful group. Really, this has been such a pleasure. And I know you already know why I love Rob and Sarah.
Okay, here is our raffle.
Oh, should I be
Yeah,
the one?
I think you should
Okay.
be the one to
Oh,
pick.
then I have to see if the numbers are big enough for me to see. And they are 1, 2, 5 are the last 3.
1, 2, 5. It's Jim.
Whoa!
Okay.
All right.
You gotta smell that too. I just did it. I think you're gonna enjoy it. So thank you all.
Thank you. And then how can we help you? Go to the website. What's the website address?
www.trampledrose.org.
Trampledrose.org. There's opportunities to donate or get involved if you want. Thank you, everybody.
And also, I come back to Colorado Springs for the summer, so Rob can even let you know if we have something else going on. And
Look at this, Jim. It comes your way.
oh, thank you. Oh, That makes me happy. And I didn't embarrass Robert Sutton, right?
No.
I didn't embarrass him. Okay. I do have these, the stories. I have stories here if you'd like to take a group of gals that I just talked to.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Jim.
Appreciate your,
I have a you mentioned, and it's two parts. You mentioned you traveled. There's some tickets for
Well, here, I'll
game, was it?
The thing that I think is interesting
I
about
lived in Turkey for 2
outcomes of
years.
Black people, all the money in the world. Well, that's what's not listened to.
Well, enjoy your time.
Oh, wow.
You can even take it to the airport.
And we went to the 7 churches of
And so my, well, it's a little bit like all the research on medical stuff is done on, it has been historically done on this.
It's everything about
all the reason why.
Yeah.
And then if black women.
So are these your gloves? Fanatics at Middle East.
Yeah, so trying to surface a concern.
Travel all
They're
over.
brushed off, and their pain is they're treated as unalive. It's a situation.
I've got a smile. Never says there were boys, but that's what we love it.
This kid, second morning. My friend.
You look like you're young. Oh, nice to meet you. Thank you for your questions.
His feet are really old.
And
Here, come check it out.
They're healthy enough right now.
yeah,
Or
and
hug or
so think
whatever.
about
Yes.
Everything is awkward right now.
So it's something I'm really passionate about.
Middle school.
You're going to second service.
I wanted to like ask one lessons.
So could you take me home?
So, thank you for all this. And since you're a little dish a little bit.
You like my shoes?
Oh, those are cool shoes.
They have toes.
Just gotta ask, because I've heard, for work.
Well, children are at my knee height, and so children always see my shoes and kind of go like, what?
Toby that he doesn't know too many different kinds of shoes yet, but I can tell
At this
he's
point in time,
They're all.
I just had a discussion with a good friend of
Like
mine.
yeah. Well, thank you so much for chatting. It's been a great choice as well.
Thank you. That's a start there. Book recommendation this year, book called Missionary Kids by evangelical who grew up in Kenya. And it's a sort of a critique of that whole system and the
I
vulnerabilities
might
and
need
all.
to read that.
It's not great, but certainly has a sense of insularity of the communities and the vulnerability of the children who grew up there to abuse and
I'm going to interview. All the stories are right here. Why don't you write down? Yes, please. I printed those off and sorted them, so I'll feel better if you take
It's such a great game. Well, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Missionary Kids, it's easy to remember.
Missionary Kids. I'm sorry to
I'll tell you
say
her name,
that
but-
about Catherine Hill. Oh my
Thank you.
gosh. It was. Bye bye.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Good.
Well, one of these days we'll have to talk history, huh? I loved all the debates about which, where we originated.
Well, my understanding is that Ethiopian Christianity came from Syria,
Okay.
across the water, not from Egypt. So,
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, and Ethiopians would also argue that a big part of it came from Russia.
Oh,
So
well,
the missionaries that got their eyes pecked out by a black crow, but they didn't stop them or something like that. So
That's the missionary spirit.
Thank you so much.
oh, this has been so good.
I will.
Thanks for the recommendation.
I appreciate as you're pointing out that a lot of these groups are in this for the money. My dad, who so I grew up in Japan, my dad was pastor in Japan for a long time, and as a result, after he retired and was here, we lost my mom and the second wife, who was very successful, especially with and so I would always encourage and say, the five good ones. They're all their money or so much money into their
And which ones are even the five good ones? Would you let me describe Iris real quick? Because I want to finish this.
Well, I can't remember the one.
Okay, because I have something else about that too.
Okay.
Oh my God!
Look how big she is.
Oh, can I just keep her?
No, you may not. And she's our accomplished pianist.
Oh, I see you on face. You turned out so beautiful. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's so good. Well,